That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Comic Reviews. My name is Ian. You can call me Part 2, and I've got a fairly large week to go through this time, and not a lot of time to do it. I'm starting kind of late, and I don't want to be up all night. But that's okay. We'll go through, and we'll go through till it's all done. Let's go ahead and get into what we will be talking about. The first thing will be Trinity, number 11. That'll be followed up by Darth Maul, number 5. Bombshells, number 31. Batwoman, number 5. Aquaman, number 26. Batman, number 27. Super Sons, number 6. And then Trump vs. Time Lincoln, number 1. And then we'll talk about a trade, which is Black Panther Bad Mother. Bad Mother, my bad. Black Panther Bad Mother will be the trade we talk about tonight. Okay, so we obviously have a real big stack of comics to get through, so I'm not going to waste any time. I'm not going to do too much interaction with the live audience tonight. Just hi to the people that are here. Thanks for coming. Glad you could make it. Okay. So let's start with Trinity number 11 by Manapul. Francis Manapul. So this continues to be just a gorgeous book, and I guess my biggest problem with buying it is that Manapul is the reason I'm buying it, because the other stuff isn't particularly good. But this is like second issue, I think. And the story arc's over. And then he'll be off the book again. But I mean, just look at that. And then there's just the neat stuff he does with the visuals of his book. Like, this isn't anything new, particularly with Wonder Woman. Aneke, if I'm saying his name correctly, did this a bit here and there in Wonder Woman Earth 1. But Manapul has a grace to it that I really, really like, of dividing up panels with the lasso of truth as opposed to with, standard gutters. So that's just really, really cool. Anyway, there's just a lot to look at in this book that looks really, really pretty. There's a lot of detail in every panel, and it's just neat. The revelation here is that these things that we thought are a parasite actually are not. They are a form of life that evolves and blends in with its environment, and it's kind of like a symbiotic life form. They're not a virus, not a possessive force or anything like that. But the alien that was telling the Justice League they are was lying to try to save his own species butt. And that's all interesting enough. It's not that the story is bad. It's not that the story is uninteresting. It's that the story is secondary compared to everything else about this book with the art. The reason by this book is the art and the way in which it has the characters interact with each other. Because what I like is, even though the Trinity is doing well in this no preparation situation and is slowly reviving the different members of the Justice League, they still are on their own. It's just the three of them. Like, there's this really great moment as Superman's trying to stop the Watchtower from just burning up in Earth's atmosphere, where the parasites come off of the Green Lanterns, and he's like, good, now you guys can help me carry this thing. But the after effects cause them to pass out. And so Superman now has to like hold them onto the ship and also try to keep the watchtower from burning up. But then just when he needs it most, Wonder Woman shows up. And that was really cool. And then you just get like, this is gorgeous. Wow. Just, I am so blown away by this spread. This looks so unbelievably cool. Though maybe I might criticize it a tiny bit now that I'm looking at it. Yeah, that's a small problem, small continuity error, visual continuity. So in these panels, Superman is holding the Green Lanterns behind his arms to hold them onto the watchtower. When we get the spread, Superman's holding the Green Lanterns under his arms, or has his arms between them and the watchtower. So, I mean, that's a slight problem, but, you know, it happens. I love the motion lines, particularly like surrounding Wonder Woman as they enter Earth's atmosphere. I love that Batman comes back to help in any way he can, even though he's not sure he'll be able to. That's really cool. Batman has a great character moment in this, I will say, for the story's worth, because this goes in and out of everybody's heads. And Batman has this moment where he goes, "Working alone is my preference, but I wouldn't complain if Clark or Diana were here right now. I have to admit, giant monsters inside a falling satellite are more their forte. But I sure as hell can save Victor and trust my friends not to let us fall." That's good. That's like, yay, character for Batman. Yeah, he is a bit of a loner, but not to the point where he's an idiot about it. I like that quite a bit, and it's, I know people in the past I've heard complain that at times Batman is written as if the Justice League is just completely useless and like a burden for him to be around. Like he's carrying all the weight somehow. And I will agree that that does happen in Justice League writing from time to time. I like this, wherein, you know, he's still doing important work, but he is not the be-all, end-all of the team. It is a team, because Superman and Wonder Woman probably would have been able to do all this stuff on their own, but they're too occupied to be able to save Victor's life in this situation. So I really like that. So, like, I just like the position this puts them in, where they're saving the Justice League, but saving the League doesn't allow them to save, or doesn't allow the League to come in and help save the day. Oh, hey, Deadpoolzilla. Doesn't allow the League to come in and help save the day. The League is still, is now alive, is safe, but is still unable to assist in the rescue. So that's just really cool. It's like they saved the League, but they're still doing the mission. And that's really neat. Not terribly interested in most of the rest of the story. They land the Watchtower, defeat the bad guy, and the day is saved. This is a fucking poster, man. Just so much of Manapul. There's your Trinity poster, right? This is your Trinity poster. It's like so quintessentially part of what this book seems to all be about. Like, what was it, Hush, about 10 years ago, where like you just have pages and covers from Hush that got turned into posters for DC for like a good 5-10 years. I feel like that's all Manapul's doing, but he's also actually telling a brilliant story, and that's awesome that he's able to do stuff like that. Like, just so many of these pages are iconic. I feel like this is iconic DC Universe imagery now. this just feels like it's so going to be, you know, those famous panels from the 2010s, the late 2010s, that we go back to when we think of iconic imagery of different characters in DC Universe. I feel like we'll see multiple things from different issues of Trinity that Manapul's working on. It's so cool. And I mean, it's like the big criticism would be then, or the go-to criticism for people would be to say, oh yeah, the art's pretty, but how's the story? It's a good story. It's got a lot of heart to it. It's not the most overreaching, complicated juggling of plot and everything. By no means is it that. But it strongly understands the characters, writes them well, tells an effective story. And this was a 2-issue arc. Like, how crazy is it that the other teams working on this book are setting up some kind of elaborate plot between the Trinity and the anti-Trinities, and the, like, these, you know, there's like the good Trinity, the bad Trinity, the gray Trinity, I guess. They're doing all this stuff to set up these opposing worldviews and stuff. And that's nowhere near as interesting as just a quick 2-page or 2-issue story that Manapul does of the Watchtower is being attacked by aliens. This is totally working for me, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Whew. To Darth Maul, number 5. Darth Maul fights the Jedi Padawan. I suppose that's redundant. Fights the Padawan, kills the Padawan, is ultimately unsatisfied with the experience. Action looks pretty good as you read it. Like, that's kind of cool. Lightsaber dueling. I'm a sucker for silhouettes, and this is silhouette-esque, so kind of got an enjoyment of the art and presentation of it. This is a pretty good example here of how page reveals can be ruined. Deadpool says if there's anything Bunn's good at, it's fights. Well, then he's not very good at fights either, because like the fighting is good enough, I guess, but this is a good example of watching your page count in a comic, because this whole situation, she throws her lightsaber and it lands above Maul's head, and Maul mocks her for missing his head. She's like, I wasn't aiming for your head. Right at the end of a page. Good, we have steam to go into what she was aiming for the reveal. This is the reveal that the rocks fall on Maul, and she feels safe. This is what you need the page reveal to be. Like, you look at that, you do that turn page, and you do the page turn page, and you get more setup, more action, but your eye immediately darts over here. It's bigger, it's flashier, it's more imposing. So you have to train yourself to focus on the rocks falling part. You have to not let the thing that is meant to draw your attention and be a powerful image, you have to not let that do that, not let it draw your attention. Honestly, I wasn't aiming at you. Should have been here. and then the rocks falling and her feeling safe should have been this page. And then you'd get this on the page reveal. Or the page turn. And that's just, I don't know, it's disappointing. It's not very good writing. So anyway, yeah, Maul kills him. The bounty hunters kill some people and get a ship, and Maul goes and kills the lady that set the whole thing up. It's not even like they build it up like it's going to be something. It's really not something. So that was disappointing. And then we get like a brief scene with Palpatine where he's like, I knew you were going the whole time. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And Darth Maul's left on his own on Coruscant. He's like, I now know that my rage wasn't satisfied by killing the Jedi, so the only thing that will help it is to kill more Jedi. Wait. I thought this was ending after 5 issues. We're getting another one? Okay. Sure, whatever. I'm good with that. I thought this was over. Someone help me out. Is this supposed to be over at 5 issues or not? Let me know in the comments. Either live or after the fact if I don't answer that. Because I was having a whole conversation with Cap on the last poll party and this was supposed to be over. But yeah, this is just like such a... it happened. It was a story. Characters from continuity were referenced and showed up in it. I really do, unfortunately, get the feel that we have reasonably talented people working on books. Okay, so Deadpool says, no, it's over. The Mace Windu mini is just getting promoted. But it says Mace Windu next issue, 8/23/17. That makes it feel like it's supposed to be a Darth Maul issue. So that's objectively weird. Maybe someone didn't get the memo. I don't know. Yeah, whatever. I feel like we have genuinely talented people working on this, or at least generally talented. And instead of them getting to, do what they want, have some free reign, they're really restricted by Disney not letting them affect continuity too heavily. So there's just a whole lot of like, oh, that was kind of a neat story, but it doesn't mean anything. And I get it. If you're a fan of the Star Wars films, but not the comics, you don't necessarily want the films to be beholden to, oh, well, a comic writer did that in this 2-issue series. So, you're shit out of luck. We can't do that plot. We can't do this specific plot element in the major motion picture because whatever. I'd like to enjoy more Star Wars comics again one day. All right, DC Comics Bombshells, number 31. Margaret Bennett. Woof. Every time, man. Every time. So in this, we get the origin of Killer Frost, that her mother was from a French village that was occupied by the Germans in the 1870s, and Killer Frost's father was one of those German occupiers. So the townsfolk try to kill them together by throwing her down a well in the middle of winter. And then child Killer Frost emerges and murders her entire village. And then the Joker's daughter shows up and takes her away. That's pretty scary. So this is like where we get the origin of Killer Frost's magical powers and stuff like that, and how she, Zatanna, and Raven are all connected to the Joker's daughter, and now their paths are all crossing again at Leningrad. Anyway. Then we get Feora and Strange interacting, and the major story of this issue, which is Feora confronting Supergirl and revealing this universe's version of Supergirl's past. I do really like this moment where Feora tells Supergirl that in order to talk to her, she's going to have to fly after her as fast as she can, faster than she's ever gone. And Supergirl pushes herself to catch up with her, and she does. But in doing so, she has to go so fast that time relative to everything else stops, which is really fascinating. So there's this great moment where she sees a snowflake, just single snowflake in the air, and she goes, "The snow is frozen." "Yes, child, snow usually is frozen, but time as humans perceive it is frozen too." That's really cool. Philip Cullen says, "Is there a Batman in this universe?" There's Batwoman. We just got Superman 31 issues in, and he ain't done shit besides fuck up a tree. By accident, of course. Superman would never do that intentionally. Superman ain't done shit. Anyway, so Feora explains her origin by saying, "I'm your mother." And that's not something I saw coming, and it's not exactly what it sounds like it is, but it is still kind of close. So we have, say what you will about Man of Steel, I quite like the whole idea of a science fiction society that controls the breeding of its people and has bloodlines continuing and all that. I really like that side of Man of Steel, and we get that here, wherein the Kryptonian society is controlling and prolonging the existence of certain bloodlines, and that is in and of itself leading to a destructive society. Feora recognizes this and seeks out two women whose bloodlines will not continue under these circumstances because they are seen as imperfect. Seeks them out and helps them to artificially inseminate one of them with a child. So we have Supergirl born of artificial insemination in this universe. What does they say the names of these women are? Lara, Lorvan, and Allura NZ. So they don't connect it to Jor-El or anyone at all. I don't know Supergirl's parents' names in the comics, so maybe that's one of them's a female version of what typically is her father's name. I don't know. But Feora artificially inseminates, so we're really getting some interesting queer commentary about just generally children and that whole side of the debate. So the plan was to very much this is in a lot of ways a better version of Man of Steel, Woman of Steel, wherein they've created a child and encoded it with the genetic markers of all of Kryptonian society. So any family, any bloodline could be restored with Kara's blood. But what the parents didn't realize is how fanatic Feora was about this plan. So she killed people trying to protect it and make it sorry, I'm just getting distracted by a comic. But like she just straight up brutally murders people to protect this investment of hers, and the parents are afraid of what she'll do to them, and so they actually manage to trick her and send her off to the Phantom Zone and send Kara to Earth. Blah blah blah, science fiction, blah blah blah, time dilation. Farah ends up on Earth hundreds of years, or like decades ahead of Supergirl, and is able to survive much longer than she would have otherwise, and then takes the time to build an empire or build a cushion of an empire for herself to implant herself in human society and prepare herself for the coming of Supergirl's ship. And then she also sets up the society of villains that we've seen throughout the series. It's just really cool, and she like gives this whole speech about how I let you make your own choices. I don't care about you. I just care about your blood and what you represent. But you have to see the way these people have treated you. And I really like this. They drove you out. Did I try to stop you? You saw human weakness and human morality. Did I descend to be a balm? I let you grieve. I let you realize the horror of loving human beings. I let them play their games with you. Let you come within their power. You are a pawn to them, Kara. But when our empire is raised once more on human soil, you will be a savior. You were created to be the strongest, the swiftest, to save us from the decay of Krypton that it was, and I created you. And then, so it's that really like that offer of join me. Together as mother and daughter, we could rule the galaxy. And I love Kara's response. No. You destroyed your homeworld because it had become corrupt instead of staying to fight that corruption. You let billions die because you cared more about hurting your enemies than protecting those who could not defend themselves. You would have set up a system as foul as the one you wanted to strike down. It doesn't matter if one is fastest or strongest or smartest, no more than it matters who is most pure. One does not have to be exceptional to deserve life. That's a great one. One does not have to be exceptional to deserve life. Bam! There's your goddamn quote. Wow, that's fantastic. That's like, you don't need any context for that. The line speaks for itself. Oh, that is... Oh, God. If Margaret Bennett ever comes to a con, I'm having her sign all my books. I don't care how much it costs. She is so good. Man. That was solid as hell. Krypton was wrong, Feora, but so are you. And then Kara's mom shows up at the end, her adopted mother, her mom Kent, right? And they are gonna apparently take on Feora together. Now, as much as I do like this reveal of Ma Kent showing up, and it's been set up for a couple issues now, I will admit this does lack context, or this does break continuity. This breaks the context of the scene. Again, I don't care about necessarily wider continuity of the entire book. I'll give it a little bit of a trade-off. There might be a problem there. I can't really think of it right now, but I'm just talking about scene-to-scene continuity. So yeah, like I was saying that this final scene kind of breaks continuity, and like this is a more determined visual storytelling than I'm talking about like, oh, well, in this issue of the book, they said this happened, but now it's this other thing. There might be a problem with that. I don't really remember it rightly right now. But like, they establish in this that they are moving faster than human perception, they're moving so fast that like everything else relative to them is standing still. This shouldn't be able to happen then. Just flat out, that should not be able to be a thing. And yet it is. This might just be a problem where like she forgot what she was doing. I don't know. It's just a weird little mistake, little blurb. It would have been fine if there was like a moment where we realized time was speeding back up. You know, it's interesting. I kind of want to go through this scene real quick and look at the visual continuity of the like scenes where we see Feora and Kara talking, because there's lightning, there's clouds, there's snowfall, but I don't really get a sense of, is the lightning not moving, or is it like slowed to a crawl? That's a question I'm not sure how to answer. But like we don't, you know, it's a comic, so you can't tell if things are moving or not moving. And so it would have been interesting to get some kind of marker so you could be sure that they are or are not, and then have this reveal once you know that they are. That'd probably be a really hard thing to do with hand-drawn art. That'd be really both very doable and potentially interesting to do in 3D, because 3D, you create the whole scene and then you put your camera in it and tell it where to shoot, right? Whereas 2D, every time you want a new angle on a scene, you have to draw out the characters again, draw out the scene again, do everything. It's not just like you make the one background or anything. You gotta, if the angle changes, you gotta change the angle. So like you could do that a lot easier, and it might look more interesting in 3D, but I don't know if that would work. That's probably not accessible to this artist. It's not something they play around with. I'm willing to bet. Anyway. Solid issue. I'm still waiting for this to end. Like, we got that bombshell that it was going to end a couple months ago now, and yet it's still going. So I'm not sure when the book is going to be over and relaunching, because they are clearly building up to, you know, this big epic battle at Leningrad, and I'm not sure where it's going from there. Okay. Go ahead and go on to Batwoman, number 5. Kate Kane, broke bad. So we've been getting all these flashbacks and moments, and you know, the entire first story arc is all about the lost year of Kate Kane's life, where she was on this island, and there's this woman named Sapphire. Kind of want to just say Sapphire, but I don't know. Safiyah. Sohail. Sapphire Sohail. There's this woman who's running this island, and she's, you know, this mediator between different essentially warlords that operate on the island, all this good stuff. And that's, you know, all well and good, and certainly really interesting. And this is explaining how Kate Kane met her, how they developed a relationship, and what broke that down, or what started to cause problems in this relationship. And it introduces us to the opposing origin of the other character that Kate was fighting in the last story arc, called the Knife. Her actual name is Tahani. How to put this? So we have like a lover's triangle kind of going on where Safiya and Tahani clearly have something going on together, and Tahani is like very jealous of this when Kate Kane shows up, and they call her the Siren. They're all using it on different levels, and Tahani's like really upset, and she knows that Kate Kane is vulnerable and is an alcoholic. So to try to prove that she's worthless for that, she hides a bottle of alcohol in Kate Kane's room in the hopes that she'll find it and start drinking it. She has this great line. Your little siren has been clean because you guard her from temptation. Left alone, she'll drink it like water the moment she's weak. 2 bottles a day, or 3. She'll put that bottle to the back of her throat and pull the trigger. And that like really upsets the shit out of Safiya, and she throws the bottle right at Tahani's head and tells her to get the fuck out. But at the same time, Safiya is not ready to like be with Kate because she realizes that Kate jumps from one addiction to the next, and she doesn't want to become another addiction. So when Kate tries to become intimate with her, kiss her, she walks away because she doesn't want to be traded for that, and that's really interesting. Then as stuff goes on, we realize other people on the island don't really trust Kate Kane and think she's a liability. And then there's this like heist of an abandoned oil tanker that they go to try to take the oil from. And it's all an elaborate plot by Tahini to try to take Kate Kane out, kill her out on the ocean, which is really, really kind of scary. But Safiya goes to Kate Kane and saves her from drowning, gives her mouth to mouth. And I really, really like this. We get these sequence of panels where she's saying breathe, and we get it intercut with stuff. With like stuff from Kate's past and just the process of her drowning, and the second time, this being the second time she almost drowned and was saved by Safiya. And then just great use of the page reveal as Kate takes that kind of breath, and then they're together on the beach, just having survived, and that's when they kiss. When they're so overwhelmed by the moment. That was really, really cool. But there's a cost to this, and it kind of gets to what, in some ways, Safiya, I keep wanting to say, combine her name with the villain name, kind of gets to what she was afraid of and her friends were afraid of, which is that she'd get too invested in Kate Kane and ignore her friends. So one of her friends that was on the mission with them seems to have died in the ocean, and maybe could have been saved just like Kate, but she saved Kate and then was so caught up with Kate that she left her friend behind. So that's our first look into what the lost year was, the year she spent with Safiya. And it's really interesting to see this kind of spiraling thing, but knowing Kate Kane has a very addictive personality, and yet she runs from her problems at this point in her life. It'll be really, really fascinating to see how this kind of destroys someone else's life. And I guess Kate Kane kind of has like a Tony Stark thing, where she's kind of responsible for her own problems. She keeps creating her own problems, and that's kind of interesting. Man, I'm excited to keep reading now. This is solid stuff, and we keep getting little bits of previews of the future. Because like in that sequence where Kate was being resuscitated, we get this single panel of a future version of Kate Kane holding up a gun and pulling the trigger. And that's pretty damn apt for what happens here, because yes, she survives and she's alive, and she and Sophia are on the beach together and begin to make love, and that's all really nice and everything. But someone died as a cost of it. So literally in this moment that her life has been saved, some others that is pulling the trigger on other people. And they don't spoon feed you that. You see it visually presented to you. Oh. Okay. Whew. Aquaman, number 26, the book I am reading for the art. What happens in the story? Aquaman and Dolphin run away from the evil SWAT police of Atlantis. Dolphin has bioluminescent powers that allow her to give people seizures. Kind of cool. But they're still cornered, but it's okay because Mira distracts the cops by attacking the so-called Crown of Thorns with her magical water-based powers, and it's so powerful that everyone in Atlantis is feeling it, even though ultimately the Crown of Thorns is too powerful a form of magic to have any effect on her. But just look at that. That's a gorgeous page. That is beautiful. Like, what I also really respect about it is it's this fantastic full-page spread. And it's clearly the imagery that the cover is based on, but that's just that the cover is based on that. So you get like basically two different drafts of this work, and the cover is better. The cover gets, you know, just to be a bit better, have this kind of flourish here to add to the thing. I saw this cover weeks ago. God, it's gorgeous. This shit fucks it up. But like it's neat that you get that moment taken again here, and it's in the context and just looks really, really neat. Otherwise, yeah, you got just stuff going on there, running around trying to figure out what's happening. The underwater crime lord knows that Arthur's there and is kind of playing up against the government. And I don't care because the art's so good. I'm so not even interested. I'm just like, ooh, pretty. That's so pretty. Neat little panel break right there over the guy's face. Anyway, so yeah, we keep continuing and stuff's happening and there's political intrigue. But then bad guy sent by the crime lord shows up and starts just fucking killing people. And Arthur starts to fight him. But then he gets zapped in the brain and unconscious along with Dolphin at the end of the issue. Okay, that's cool. I'm just so blown away by the art. The art just is totally the reason I'm picking this up, and it's not disappointing. I don't do that with a ton of books, but man, this is... I wonder. I'm trying to find the other panel of Mira that I was talking about. I'm flipping through pages of this comic book. No, There's not a single reused panel of Mira. That's awesome. Like, one of the things I really dislike in just general in a lot of things is when we reuse footage or art of a scene directly from that scene and represent it as like security footage or whatever. Like you see this a lot in television shows. The most go-to example in my head is from the hi Steve. Hello?
Hey, what's up?
Oh, not much, just talking Aquaman.
Gotcha. I'll wait.
Okay. Next issue's Batman, so I'll see you in just a few. But like the most ready example I can think of using like footage or whatever from the previous thing or a previous scene in a new scene is with the second new Planet of the Apes movie, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, because like that has in the beginning news footage of the bridge scene from Rise of the Planet of the Apes, but it's just the direct scene from the film. I'm like, how did you possibly get that angle? That doesn't make any sense. That's something that usually bothers the hell out of me. And I thought that this panel of them looking at Mira attacking the crown of thorns was going to be that, but it's not. It's a completely new panel drawn with all this rich detail, and it just looks really, really good. I'm so excited about that. It's awesome. I guess I'm kind of interested in the story and stuff. More, I'm just like, give me more reasons for the artist to draw really epic ass shit like that, please. It looks cool. All right, let's go ahead and go on. Steve, you may come for Batman number 27.
I'm here.
Yay, but your video is not.
It's loading.
There it is. There it is.
Okay.
Okay. How's it going, Steve?
Not bad. I'm excited to talk about this. This was interesting.
Like, when Tom King, and spoilers, everybody, when Tom King on Twitter said, I'm going to do an origin for Kite Man during War of Jokes and Riddles, I thought it was going to be like 2 panels or something where we really quickly just go, oh, and that's how Kite Man got started. But it's like a heartbreaking ass issue with like a deep, complex origin.
So my favorite thing about this is that Tom King and Batman keep talking about the War of Jokes and Riddles is Batman's one big mistake. I would love it if Batman's one big mistake was creating Kite Man. Like, that would be the greatest thing ever.
And this is how I created my true arch nemesis, Kite Man.
Oh man, it's really sad though. Like I was not expecting it to go the way it goes.
I mean, it is kind of like the perfect Batman villain origin story, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And like I wasn't expecting this at all because like it's so obvious. It opens with him saying like I studied wind in school, and he's talking about aerodynamics and balance. Then he throws a paper airplane. And I still didn't catch on until like several pages later.
It's really brilliantly compact and efficient. I was surprised by it. I also feel like so this story is going to be halfway over in 2 weeks from now.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is moving surprisingly slow, yet at the same time is building a lot of complexity.
Yeah, and there's some moments where it just feels like total shock and awe.
Yeah.
Because like we get these, like I'm expecting some kind of interlude, some kind of scene or something of Batman talking to this guy again. But King's really smart about his pacing because he's like, well, you know what he's going to say, so you really don't need it. And then so we just get to this amazing spread.
Oh my god.
Shit.
This was the funniest shit I've read in a long time. Where like his name is Charlie Brown, and then Joker's like, good grief, and then the next page about how this is almost funny cracks me the fuck up.
Yep. I just really like this image of Joker and Kite Man, future Kite Man, sitting on a couch together, and Joker's just like, so Like, I can't even do it.
No, it's almost funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great.
yeah. And then like it's parallel again when we get to the next page with like him thinking he has to kill himself to save his family, and so he keeps like clicking this suicide vest and doesn't do anything. That's great. That is so damn tragic, and he just keeps saying, "I don't get it. I don't get it."
It's really cool that Man's origin is this very like nuanced, a dad that kind of has his place in the world but really doesn't, and that's being paralleled with this really ambiguous place that the Joker and Riddler are in, where they don't know who they are because of Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's that joke the line the Joker has throughout this issue, where what's really the difference between a riddle and a joke? That this is kind of like on a more personal level, really playing up how dangerous and how terrifying it is to not know who you are. And so when Kite Man kind of becomes Kite Man at the end, it's almost like the most affirmative thing he can do.
Yeah, and what I also like about it is this is an issue without really any exposition. Like they tell you one thing, and that's that Riddler somehow poisoned the line that his son was using.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it just like lays it all out on the page for you to figure out what exactly the sequence of events is and what's making what happen. I also really, really like, to your point about the whole riddles and jokes again being like parallel and how similar those things are, is the line, I don't even want to call it one thing or the other, the line we get in this. 9 cats are on a boat. 1 jumps in a river. How many are left? None. They're copycats. Is that a joke or a riddle? And the answer is, it's both. And oh, I love that.
It's so good. And then just the notion of how that joke or riddle itself, that whole notion of like one jumps and they all jump, and how that parallels those newscasters talking the whole time about this weird total war situation we're in. How like there's this kind of beautiful futility to all of it, just simplified in that joke.
Yeah, and like to the point about the newscasters talking, it is this really interesting thing, because that could totally backfire and be like, you know, the rule is generally show, don't tell, particularly in a comic book. That's just newscasters telling us what the ground war is like, but the way he's showing it is not the, you know, shootouts on the street and like the buildings burning and all that stuff. We get a taste of it just to like shock you with the scale of this thing. But like what you're really seeing is the loss that's happening. What this is doing to the normal people of the city. And Kite Man's kind of our window into that, which is really fascinating.
Yeah. So I'm really surprised at how big Kite Man has become over the course of Tom King writing Batman. Because he was kind of this weird joke villain that shows up every now and then just to say hell yeah and get his ass kicked.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very clearly, and he talks about this in interviews, that Kite Man in his Batman run was supposed to be like Turk in Frank Miller's Daredevil run. And in that run, Turk becomes Stiltman at some point. But like it's just played for laughs because it's kind of pathetic.
Mm-hmm.
But Tom turns that and makes it like a really interesting, sympathetic villain. And that I didn't expect that to happen at all.
Yeah, like I like the idea that he's just this guy who had everything. Like he's to get back to Joker, he's this guy who had one bad day, and it just broke him. And so now, like Kite Man, hell yeah, isn't like this funny thing anymore. It is kind of pathetic, wherein he just broke and lost it, and now the only thing that makes sense to him is to dress up like a supervillain and go steal stuff.
And how sad is that whole hell yeah thing, that it comes from his son, and his mom told him not to say hell because he'll end up there. Then Kite Man kind of like perpetuates a lifestyle by saying that would kind of probably make him a bad enough person to go to hell if he believed in it. Like it's like that line isn't even funny anymore. It's depressing.
Right? It like right at the heart, man.
He just keeps saying the thing he told his son not to say. It's so sad.
Hell yeah. And oh man, it's just, is this a joke? Kite Man. Kite Man. Hell yeah. Oh. Dash Scan asks, how old is Sid? Sid is 26.
Oh shit. What do you think of the whole Charlie Brown thing?
You know, it's funny because King talked about it on Twitter. He's like, everyone, you need to understand that Kite Man's in-canon name is Charlie Brown. And it's such an interesting thing where, like, that could not have fit better if he made it that way, right?
Yeah.
Like, if his name had been Calvin, it wouldn't have worked better. That is so, like, just the universe giving Tom King a gift for his Batman run.
There's just like this beautiful layer that's on top of this comic now because Charlie Brown comic strips, Joker doesn't find anything funny anymore. His whole run has been kind of a meta comic analysis, and Charlie Brown's got its own like layers of commentary and like the sort of patheticness and routineness of Charlie Brown's own life being represented as Kite Man in this comic. Like, he could not have done this in any way intentionally, but it's all there and it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's just so perfect how that all works out. Batman had me set up the meeting, but then the Riddler found out, and I told him about the meeting, and then Batman found out about Riddler, so I told Batman about the meeting again, and then everyone was there. It's almost funny. Oh, I love it.
It's just the funniest fucking thing. I love it.
Yeah, and I like, again, this scene is such a fucking jaw dropper because I was so not prepared for this on any level.
No, you just creeping up behind him, and then suddenly all hell breaks loose.
Right? Like, god damn, everything went wrong in that. You know, I'm curious. I'm looking at that scene, and there's no indication whatsoever what you're going to get. You are not in any way visually prepared for that page turn, and that is the perfect way to set up a page turn like that.
For like a good minute.
Mm-hmm. Like, I can just stare at this all day, and I'm like, wow.
It's kind of beautiful. The Joker's got some really interesting costumes throughout this particular issue. Like, that suit he's wearing in this is a little bit different than the one Michael draws him in, but it still looks good. And then there's a scene towards the end where he's just wearing like a tank top, pants, and an apron.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's like kind of a, housewife kind of look to him, which is kind of funny.
Yeah,
an American suburb look to him.
At the end of the day, and it's kind of amusing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is, oh man, I didn't realize the artist changed. You're right.
Yeah, this one's Clayman, who's the guy that did half of Batman 24.
Clayman, really?
Yup.
Really?
Yup.
It's like when Mark Webb was making Spider-Man movies. Something about that just made sense, you know?
It kind of does. And Clay Face is in this issue. It's kind of perfect.
Yeah, I was wondering if King was going to set up Clayface turning around at all, like becoming a good guy eventually kind of thing. And not in this issue, at least. I was just curious if that would integrate into the run at all or not.
Speaking of Clayface, though, there is kind of an interesting motif going around through this issue of just Kite Man being in the foreground and things in the background relatively quickly creeping up behind him and wrecking his life.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of interesting how King is able to use like that kind of like space and paneling to talk about Kite Man's life sort of falling apart. Where like Kite Man as a person is always front and center, especially when by the time you get to the last page. But it's everything around him that sort of falls apart, and so you wonder whether or not Charlie Brown is the same person by the end, because the panels tell you he's not. But everything around him is so different, and it's interesting how that morphs him.
Yeah, and just like there's things played around with as well, like this panel where he's talking to the Riddler, and that's supposed to be Clayface's shadow next to him, but you know what it looks like, Steve?
What's that?
A kite.
It's true.
It's shaped like a kite. And that's just, that's fascinating. Foreshadow. Steve, it's foreshadowing with literal shadows.
It's almost as good as Charlie Brown. It's almost funny.
That's a pun. That was a pun. That's so a pun. Oh my god, I can't like that. This is my live reaction to realizing that. I'm like, oh, it's really interesting foreshadowing by using a shadow. It's a pun.
Damn your postmodern bullshit. If I had one criticism of this issue, it's the most minor thing, which is the cover has nothing to do with this at all. Couldn't we get a cover with Kite Man on it?
Honestly, I'm kind of glad it didn't, because I was not expecting the whole issue to be about Kite Man.
Really?
Yeah, I knew that there was like an origin for Kite Man coming up, but again, I assumed that Tom King was joking, which I guess you could just never take seriously. Like, everything Tom King jokes about is apparently going to be like this tragic thing that breaks your fucking heart. But like, I assumed he was joking about like how detailed it was going to be. I was like, okay, so it's probably going to be like, a page that shows, hey, I want to join the team. What's your gimmick? I know about like kites and stuff. Like, I thought it was going to be like something like that. That was going to be his origin. But no, it's like the whole issue is dedicated to Kite Man becoming Kite Man. And like, I guess, I've talked about this before, but one of the major indicators of a joke, if you want to talk about jokes, which kind of undercuts them, but whatever. One of the main ways to define a joke is when you're expecting one thing or when you're expecting A and you get giraffe. When you're expecting one thing, you get something completely different that you weren't expecting whatsoever. So, like, the quintessential one is, why did the chicken cross the road? Now, assuming you've never heard that joke before, but you have heard of jokes before, you go, okay, so it's going to be like something silly to like go get its car keys or something. And the answer is, to get to the other side, it's a break of expectations because you're expecting a joke and you get a straight answer. And this kind of functions, at least for me, on that level of, I was expecting a Kite Man origin. I wasn't expecting it to be a whole issue. And I damn sure wasn't expecting it to, like, break my heart,
I've got the second level of that, where I wasn't expecting it to break my heart. But, like, I was watching Tom King interviews and stuff, and he was very adamant about, like, no, we're doing a Kite Man issue. It'll be an interlude and everything.
Okay,
so I was expecting to pick up a whole issue. I just didn't realize it was going to be this, I guess, important or good. Like, this is one of my favorite Batman villain origins, honestly. Like, it's just really economic and really emotional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it says part 1 at the end. Is there going to be another interlude at the end? Will there be like an epilogue that touches on more Kite Man?
Like, yeah, I'm like almost ready to see like interrogation scenes with Kite Man where like the cop goes, "Why'd you steal this, priceless piece of jewelry?" And he just never says anything but Kite Man, hell yeah. Like, he's being interviewed at Arkham's like, what is your fixation with kites? Kite Man, hell yeah.
If you, going back and having this knowledge of 27 and Kite Man's origin and the way Kite Man deals with the death of his son and everything, paralleling that to the whole death of the father thing in 23 with Swamp Thing and Kite Man shows up, and then just the way this whole run is sort of built on people trying to become superheroes or supervillains based on the people around them that have died, like Gotham Girl. There's something here where like Kite Man is sort of like this weird pivotal thread in King's entire run that you only make sense of when you get to this issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And like, I really, with him saying, a good way through his run, and obviously when he was starting to work on stuff for War of Jokes and Riddles, there's no way that he had planned that all in advance.
Oh, no, he didn't at all. Do you know the story about how Jokes and Riddles came about?
No.
Okay, so he was in the middle of writing his Batman, his first 3 Batman arcs, and he was finishing up the first season of Sheriff of Babylon, and they were taking a break on it. Him and Mitch Grande, the guy that did the Swamp Thing issue and the Catwoman story, Rooftops. And before all of this, he pitched a story to DC that he wanted to do with Mitch Grande before they went back and did Sheriff of Babylon, and they decided it was going to be War for Jokes and Riddles, which is a story that he pitched to another writer years and years ago. Like this was his big Batman story. He pitched War for Jokes and Riddles years and years ago as his own independent thing, and then pitched it again as his own self-contained story with Mitch Grande. And then he got a phone call from his agent, and he says, DC loved your story so much they don't want to make it a mini, they want to put it in the main title. And Tom King was really upset about that because, well, it's cool that DC loved his story. It sucks because he works freelance, and that's one less book he's getting paid for. But he wanted to do it with Mitch Grande, and DC said, no, you'll do it with Clayman and Makil. So he had to come up with a different story to do with Mitch Grande, and that became the Mr. Miracle story, which happened entirely because Tom King got really, really drunk at a bar. Yeah. So that's another fun story.
Yeah.
But that's how we got both this and Mr. Miracle coming out.
So
this story and like its relationship to the rest of his run is completely by accident.
That's fascinating because this is just really cool.
Stories.
Tom King has a good backstory. You know, we don't review the backstories of writers enough. But man, Tom King has a good backstory. And then there's just like, Riddler's just such an ass. Because we've talked a lot about Joker. We haven't talked about Riddler's place in this. But Riddler is just an absolute ass. And this is probably, like, for my money, this is the saddest page of the book. Especially on reread. I got the implication, but I didn't quite know how far it was going to go until I did the reread. Or until I just go back and look at it, of Riddler giving a riddle where the answer is a kite, and we go from seeing this kite his son was flying up in the air as it falls to the ground and crashes. And that's just such a... He's brag. Riddler's a narcissist. He can't help but thumb his nose in people's failures or whatever. And he's bragging about how he killed Kite Man's son. That's just
it's just so heartbreaking. It's so beautifully paneled out too. It really gets you.
Yeah. Man. This is sad.
This story though, man, I am loving everything we're getting out of War for Jokes and Riddles so far.
Mm-hmm. Man, this just has like some really somber yet iconic paneling right here, where Batman's like trying to console this guy who just lost his child as he's on the edge of a building. And he's like, I promise I'll catch him.
It's part of Batman's fault because Batman made him try and report to the Joker.
Yep.
And Batman knows this.
Yep. This is the perfect example of things you can do to talk about Batman's character flaws. It works particularly well with early Batman, but it doesn't feel like this has to be an early Batman thing right now. Because just the idea of trying to manipulate, a villain or someone who worked with villains before is totally a Batman thing. This is a Sting, and this kind of shows you why Batman doesn't do that very often. Because he did it once, and it completely blew up in his face and resulted in the death of an innocent.
Batman, so far, has fucked up quite a bit in the story where, like, he thought Riddler died and he didn't. His whole thing with Kite Man here. And I don't entirely know what the Deadshot Deathstroke stuff is, but Tom King's teasing something pretty tragic happening there.
Mm-hmm.
Which is exciting, by the way. Next issue is Deadshot versus Deathstroke.
I always love that fight.
Oh man, it's gonna be so much fun.
Okay, let's see what happens here. Who's your money on, Steve?
Deadshot.
Deathstroke.
Nope, Deadshot, easy. Deadshot's got this.
Deathstroke's got this, assuming you don't know something that I don't know.
Have you read Superman American Alien?
No.
Okay, American Alien number 3 is an issue where Clark Kent pretends to be Bruce Wayne. This is when he's like 21-ish, and he's just on a yacht where Bruce Wayne's not there. He's pretending to be Bruce Wayne, and he gets his drink poisoned, and so he just acts really drunk. And Deathstroke shows up to try and kill him, but because he's drunk, Deathstroke doesn't realize that the poison's not working. So Superman flicks him all the way across the ocean, and it's the funniest thing. So Deathstroke is a really good assassin and a really good character, but Deathstroke doesn't have any sort of special resistance or ability that can stop him from Deadshot's literal perfect aim.
Yeah, he's got a healing factor.
Yeah, a little though. It's not an extreme healing factor.
He's got a healing factor, armor. I have to believe if it can go against Lobo, it's probably bulletproof.
Well, maybe, but Deadshot, I don't know, man. The only reason Deadshot doesn't kill Batman in one hit is because he actively chooses not to.
Fair enough. I don't know. I like Deathstroke though, so I'm gonna go with Deathstroke.
We'll see how it goes. I'm excited. I saw the black and white teaser page of Deathstroke's sword hitting Deadshot's gun, and it was the coolest fucking thing.
Nice. That they fought so many times, and it's always awesome.
I'm excited. Can't wait.
Yeah, they're like, we are the C-listers of the DC universe, but we have a rivalry against each other. Okay. Steve, I love talking Batman with you, but I've got to go on to other books. So is there anything else we need to talk about with this one, you think?
Nope, I'm good.
Yeah, me too. God, I love this book.
Me
Tom
too.
King. Someone chained Tom King to a desk. Never let him quit writing Batman. All comics should be this good.
True. Absolutely true. And Mr. Miracle's coming out in a few weeks, I think around the same time as Batman 28, so that's going to be a treat.
Man, these creep up on me. I'm still expecting Mr. Miracle to be a couple weeks away. That's good news, though.
It's August 8th, I think, right?
I've got the thing right in front of me, and I'm trying not to read the preview, but I really want to read the preview. Yeah, beginning in August.
Okay.
Yeah, just exciting. I'm on the edge of my seat for more Batman, more Mr. Miracle, more Tom King.
Yes.
He works freelance. Give him more books, DC. Anything he wants to write, it's his.
At some point for Geeky Gentleman, I'm going to pick the first season of Sheriff of Babylon just to see what you think of it. That's going to be really exciting.
Okay, cool. All right, see you, Steve.
See ya.
Okay, here we are, folks. Let's go ahead and continue on with Super Sons, number 6. Again, I just love the way that Damian and John are being paralleled. And this is just it opens with some stuff that sets up the villain and the conflict for the book. Little prologue, but then it opens with John asking if he can stay out late, and he's like, "Oh, come on, it's Friday. Damian's dad lets him stay out all night." And Clark just goes, "Damian's dad dresses like a bat and gets hit in the head 28 times every night, so maybe not the best argument." Okay, fair point, Dad. I love it. It's adorable. But anyway, so Damian and John are hanging out, just, saving people because it's the fun thing to do. And I just, look at the fun that John is having in this book. That is so sweet. He is the little kid that wants to be a superhero. It's just getting the fun of getting to do it. Sorry, book. Didn't mean to do that to you. This isn't Secret Empire. I don't want to rip the cover in half. And, you just get this total, parody level of what Damian thinks you should do with anyone who breaks any kind of law. Or this guy's jaywalking, and Damian's ready to just kill him. And John's like, "Hey, you're just jaywalking now. Don't do that. Otherwise, you could hurt your dog." Anyway, And then they're just, like they save a cat out of a tree, they stop a motorcycle purse snatcher, they help a lady change her tire. And then the actual story gets started as the Titans show up and Damian goes away with them. I really, really like this moment, though, as they're leaving, because it understands not only that Damian is a child, but particularly what kind of child he is. So, like, the Titans show up and Damian, like, starts acting really, really, he acts pretty much like bossy Batman that you get in a lot of Justice League books and stuff. And this kind of shows the Damian thinks he's the Batman that runs the Justice League and is the reason the Justice League has any level of success. Like, that's what Damian thinks he is in the back of his head as he interacts with the Titans. But he's trying to act all high and mighty, so cool. But the Titans show up and Damian's like, well, let's go. Superboy, you can find your way home from here. Should be easy. Just follow the negligent cat owners. But yeah, he just, like, leaves to go with the Titans. And Starfire says, does your friend want to come with us? And John's like, that'd be... Damian cuts him off. No, this is Titans business. Like, he's just too cool for his friend. I really like that. Like, the Titans are clearly accepting of Damian. They find Damian to be a useful member of the team. They think Damian is talented, and they actually listen to some of his tactile training because he does understand it, though he's still a little too full of himself even for them. They are pleasant. They are polite to Damian. They are very clearly, at least in this issue, not Damian's friends. When he is talking with them, they aren't talking about, like, personal stuff. They aren't talking about their philosophies on how to do things. He is giving orders. They're responding to his orders. That is all. Starfire is trying to be really nice. And she is obviously the oldest. I'm just saying, it is weird you did not ask your friend to come with us. Seriously, Starfire, which word in Teen Titans are you struggling with? He's 10. Like, she's trying to go, you should not kick your friend to the curb kind of thing. But he doesn't want Superboy to be his friend. He doesn't want Superboy on the Titans. Or he doesn't want them to see Superboy as friends. He doesn't want to see Superboy on the Titans because then it ruins how special being a member of the Titans is to Damian. So Tomasi is writing a very, very particular type of child. And I had friends that were kind of like this at times. I had friends growing up that kind of were shitty friends, to be honest, at times, and would kind of like shrug me off to go hang out with their cool friends. And, like, it's the way Damian's being written is very much in line with that. And from experience, the way John is being written is very much in line with how you react to when your friends do that to you. I love the scene where John goes home and his mom has to go out and do something for work. And John's clearly kind of disappointed, and he wanted to be out all night, but he's home by curfew. And he just sits on the couch and eats and watches TV. And he didn't want to be doing that. He wanted to be out with his friend doing the, thing that gets that reaction out of him. And instead, that. I so relate to that kid. That is so me when I was a kid at times. I was the friend that was like, it was fun to hang out with me, and we had a good time and everything. But when the cool friend showed up, I was the one that got kind of nixed. And so really, me. And that's really interesting. Anyway, the plot develops as the Titans kind of get taken out by this villain set up in the first act, in the prologue, with just an awful costume. I'm sorry. That is a terrible costume. Takes them out and does something to Damien, and John wakes up to a knock-knock, and Damien out on the porch with the Titans, but Damien's been turned into an old man. Suicide Squad, I guess. 25. Oh, okay. Sorry, this confused the hell out of me. I'm trying to figure out what the bodies were supposed to spell. Like, that one's obviously a 5. This, I'm not sure. Need a little more definition, Harley. But yeah, this is a solid issue, and it really does get their interactions down perfectly, and this dynamic is amazing. And it's not something... I don't think I've seen that kind of relationship of, like, the kind of shitty friendship communicated in comics. And I like seeing that. That's a fun thing to do. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to Trump versus Time Lincoln #1. I'm really waiting to see what happens in the comments section on this video. So this was not something I had any idea about. This isn't like on my poll or anything like that. And I'm just going to hold this up for as long as I can. This wasn't on my poll or anything like that. I just was walking the shelves and I saw this and I was like, okay, I might as well buy it. Like, I have no idea who the author is, the message it's going to try to convey or anything like that. But I figured I'd buy it. I want to say pretty much anything that's just blatantly anti-Trump, especially if it's this just like in your face, not subtle at all. I am more or less willing to buy, mainly because I know it bothers Donald Trump, and he's probably going to end up trying to sue the artists, and even if he doesn't like succeed in that lawsuit, sue the artists, right, or whatever, even if he does not succeed in that lawsuit, he can like tie people up in litigation and really cost them. So this is my contribution to supporting that. So this is actually apparently like a sequel issue. There was this series called Time Lincoln that was going on where like basically Abraham Lincoln, 5-issue series where Abraham Lincoln met up with other big historical figures and they did time travel stuff or whatever. This is basically Mad Max meets Abraham Lincoln meets Donald Trump. Like the beginning, it's clearly Mad Max. I mean, that's clearly Mad Max. So the commentary here is not particularly biting in a really clever or profound way, it is pretty much just a middle finger to Donald Trump. That's all it's really trying to be. You know, you get some speeches, you get some pretty harsh critiques of Trump, wherein he's got a harem of women on chains and their breasts are censored by tremendous, so easy, kafafi. And then he gives like a speech to his followers. Like he lives in a golden tower. His followers live in tents and, you know, out of their trucks and stuff. My people, soon we shall be the masters of this brand new world. I can't do a good Trump. Can't. Yeah, hooray, yeah, our lives for you. Greetings, my followers. Today is a glorious day, for today we crush the cowards, the worms, the scum who refuse to follow and obey me. We have located them, and they have nowhere left to run. It will be a glorious day. Glorious. I assure you victory. I assure you riches and food enough to last the rest of your natural lives. All I ask is that you do not resist me, that you believe me, that you do not question my command. Just do it. Turn off your minds and deny your intellect. Intellect is a thief that steals your opportunity and your riches from my kingdom. Be not fooled, for once you feed your intellect, it will hunger for more and more knowledge, and soon you will grow to resent the absence of clarity and the blissful comfort of ignorance. Stay with me today and fight for me, and I'll personally walk you into my golden towers. Yeah, I do a terrible Trump, but like, to be fair, the dialogue does not help. Like, I agree that is kind of what Trump is asking his supporters to do, is like, oh, just trust me, don't believe anybody but me, the whole, you know, fake media, all that stuff. That is way too both coherent and elegant phrasing of that speech for it to actually sound like Donald Trump. And so again, I like the way this just kind of, you know, mocks Trump, shows him in the whole Mad Max get up. Though again, if you're looking for more brilliant critiques of the Trump administration, you know, I'm gonna say Kyle Andrews, The 1%, is a much better satire. Though, if you ever wanted to see Donald Trump be shot with a death ray that Nikola Tesla invented and then punched in the face by Abraham Lincoln, this is probably the book for you. Anyway, Trump's defeated and the universe is saved. And it turns out the little boy that Abraham Lincoln saved ended up actually being Stephen Hawking. Again, I'm not particularly impressed by this. It was a fun read. It's mostly for shock value and just the, yeah, fuck you, Abraham Lincoln, or fuck you, Donald Trump. Yeah, punch him in the face, Abraham Lincoln. That's pretty much it. One shot special Kafafi this summer. The tremendous Trump, the greatest snolly ghoster of all time. Alt facts as you like it. Is he man or mendicious, or is he both? It's going to be huge. I kind of like this as the cover opposed to this, but maybe that's just me. Trump versus Time Lincoln. Yeah, no. This isn't biting, this isn't clever, this is just a middle finger. So, you know, I'm cool with that. The Emperor has no clothes. If you think it's the best thing ever, Matthew Bennett, you are more than welcome to go out and buy it. I'm a little too woke for it, yo. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to Black Panther, Bad Mother. So Hudlin's run in the first 6 issues, perfect. Really, really strong start to a run. Just nails it for me. Wild Kingdom, playing around with the X-Men. It's not bad. It's just nowhere near as good as that high you got left on at the end of Who is the Black Panther. Bad Mother is certainly better than Wild Kingdom and is cool. And I like the premise that it's using. But, like, I'm still waiting to get back to the stuff that was set up in Who is the Black Panther. And this is a weird complaint for me to make. Because I'm the guy that usually talks about how there aren't enough single issue stories or just 1 or 2 issue stories. Everything has to be part of a gigantic run that just keeps building and building in comics these days, and that's really annoying. And yeah, that is really annoying, especially as a monthly reader. This trade is a pretty good argument for why it's kind of understandable that that happens. Like, Wild Kingdom is not as enjoyable to read as this was, but it does build into other stuff that's going to be happening in the run. It does do good relationship stuff building up T'Challa and Aurora, Black Panther and Storm Diver relationship. This does none of that. This arc starts with this arc starts by following Luke Cage, actually, as he thinks of and talks about Black Panther, and then ends up meeting Black Panther in a nightclub. And this is where we get, like, it's kind of developing the idea that, yeah, Black Panther is looking for a wife. And that's interesting, and that's cool and stuff. And it does lead into my bigger complaint with this arc. But basically, Luke Cage is working as a bodyguard, kind of, job to job, and meeting T'Challa and being put in a situation where he would have had to fight T'Challa and decided not to, cost him his job. And so T'Challa's like, I'm here to offer you a new. I'm sorry you lost your job. I'm not. I'm here to offer you a new one. Interested? Interested. Man, I've been waiting for this moment all my life. And he says that as, like, a bunch of ninjas are about to attack T'Challa and Luke Cage. And, like, that's, this is fun. It's Luke Cage and T'Challa fighting together against a horde of ninjas. And then, like, they go, hey, how come no ninjas have come in the front door? And then we just cut to the front door of Luke Cage's apartment where T'Challa's bodyguards are just kicking the shit out of a ton of ninjas. That's cool. And then, like, shit happens. A jet shows up, takes T'Challa, Cage jumps on it. Falcon tries to go after it, doesn't work out for him. The jet takes off, and yeah, shit happens. Also, just brief interlude, this kind of all happens out on the street, and so you have people from Luke Cage's neighborhood walking around going, oh my god, what's happening right now? And Hudlin just gets, like, not only how to write black people, but like how to do comedy with black people in a comic, because there's a very particular kind of interaction and talking that like a lot of comedy writers actually don't get. And I kind of know this just from hanging around with black families. My neighbors growing up, one of my best friends growing up was black, and his family was black, and just hung out with him all the time. And so there's just very particular style of what they find funny that Hudlin catches and really shows you quite well. So like this is in kind of the aftermath of all the black superheroes leaving, Falcon, Luke Cage, T'Challa, and one of the guys in the neighborhood is just like, you know what would be cool? If y'all got together and made a black super team. That's a great, and like the old man, that's a great idea. They can arrest you and your drug dealing behinds. Hey, this gun is just for the self-defense. It's dangerous out here on these streets. Like that's really funny. I like that. That was just, it just got it. It's just the right kind of attitude, and there's just a good sense of comedy there. But anyway, this is all apparently part of a gigantic plan. I think it's Fu Manchu. That's the bad guy in this, kind of, sort of. This is the, yeah, I think it's supposed to be Fu Manchu. Help me out, y'all. That Fu Manchu, he's got like the long nails and stuff. The reason I'm not sure is they say, T'Challa's about to say the infamous Fu, and then guy cuts him off and he goes, "Nuh-uh, I no longer go by that name. It was a silly title given to me by ignorant Westerners that simply meant Man of Manchu Dynasty." Oh yes, I think it was supposed to be Fu Manchu. Every 100 years or so, I like to do a makeover, as the Americans say, and now I am simply known as Han. Han, like the bad guy and Enter the Dragon. You're kidding, right? This is cool. So anyway, this like the reason that T'Challa was attacked and kidnapped was because it is common knowledge that he's looking for a wife, and Han tries to offer him his daughter's hand in marriage. And like I love this. This is really funny. Where like it's you're expecting something like, oh, the world's gonna, or I'm gonna take over the world, and I needed to take T'Challa out beforehand or something. He's like, no, I'll offer you my daughter's hand in marriage, and like you just get this look of Luke Cage and T'Challa seeing his daughter, and T'Challa doesn't quite know how to respond. He's like, Han, this is an unexpected and generous proposal. To offer me your daughter is quite an honor. And I can just hear Luke Cage whispering in the background, and not the fugly daughter either. She is fine. And so Han keeps going. Hawaii Fair is trained to be the perfect wife and mother. Furthermore, my scientists have a method that will guarantee male children, sons that will rule 2 continents, Africa and Asia. So what do you think? Han, your daughter is beautiful, but my heart, it belongs to another. Heart! Heart! I offer my daughter to you and you a subhuman ape and you reject her? Why you gotta go racial all of a sudden? Just say to hell with you and call it a day, because now I gotta tax you. Luke Cage is awesome. So anyway, the ninjas and who is it that shows up? But Shang-Chi shows up. I don't know who that is. And they fight off the ninjas, and Luke Cage gets like attacked by a dragon, and all his clothes get burned up because of it. And like it's they defeat Han basically. Then at the end, the daughter's like, I'm sorry my father did all this, but I only went along with all of it because I really do like you. And Luke goes, look, I just want you to think before you answer here. This girl is insanely beautiful, and I bet Han wasn't lying about her abilities to please her man. Could it hurt to go out on a date with her? And T'Challa just left like, oh, like, I'm not gonna lie, it's funny. It is funny and entertaining, and it's especially funny because T'Challa's a man of honor, and yet because of his status, because of his wealth, he has to deal with women throwing themselves at him and women being thrown at him, and just different levels of insistence from different people. And that is truly interesting. That is the idea of someone who is emotionally invested but has opportunity after opportunity presented to him, and he has to like turn that down but still be regal about it is truly interesting. The problem is, and this is like an issue throughout the entirety of this run so far, and certainly this volume, there's an inherent level of sexism, because with the exception of Storm, there are no apparent, or there, I take that back. There are some women in this book who aren't just, money grubbing or aren't just gold diggers. Though there are just ones that are. And so, unfortunately, a lot of the time, a lot of the dedication of the story is being spent on the ones who are, to set up conflict for T'Challa to kind of be better than. But in doing so, you're moving the focus more towards those kind of characters, that kind of portrayal of women. And, that's I'm not going to say full out sexist, but it does undercut my ability on some levels to enjoy this. But I'll give credit where it's due. Let me find it. Because there's a scene early on where the reason T'Challa's in New York, the reason he meets up with Luke Cage, is because he's looking for a wife, and he goes to see an ex-girlfriend that he had in college before anyone knew who he really was. And he's having a conversation with her. Let me see if I can find it. Is it after that? Yeah, okay. So, like, he has a conversation with her and is, like, proposes marriage. And she just immediately turns him down because of his life, and also because of his mother, but because of his lifestyle. Like, she's like, I didn't pass up a ride to school in a new Benz to end up getting killed by Mongo the albino ape man. His name was whatever. I'm not raising kids in that kind of environment. It's like, what is this line before him? If I was the kind of girl who didn't mind flirting with danger, I would have dated a drug dealer in 10th grade. Like, so this is a strong female character. She's successful in her own right. She's like become a pop star or whatever. She's successful in her own right, and she knows what she wants out of a relationship, and she is not beholden to the whims of T'Challa. Like, T'Challa proposes marriage, and she turns it down flat out, doesn't even flirt with the idea. You know what? It's a good scene. It's a solid scene. But the portrayal of the woman that we spend more time with in this book starts right after the fact, where it's a woman saying, "Can you believe that silly hoochie ran him off? Which means he's single and looking for the one. Why else would he be at the nightclub? Now, how the hell is he going to meet a quality woman in a place like this?" And then that woman goes and hits on him. So there is again, I'm not going to use the word sexism because it's showing a variety of character and moral uprightness in women. That is called writing people. That is called writing character. But I will say it is a little, I don't even know what word I want. I'm going to use the SJW word. It is certainly problematic to focus more on the overall narrative. It is problematic for the overall narrative and how it's true and how it's representing women on the page. Now, the next volume is called The Bride, I believe, and that is where he and Storm get married. So my hope is that it's going to mean a much more well-written more fully fleshed out female character. And like, to be fair, there's also development for his sister. His sister is at this nightclub with him, and she's just out on the dance floor pushing herself to exhaustion, and he comes and hugs her and is like, "It's really hard for you to take life, especially your first one," because she's reacting to what happened at the end of Who is the Black Panther. And so that's really interesting. There's a lot of great stuff going on here. So that's like the first half of the story. And again, it's 2 issues. That I would have loved the hell out of that if I was just reading it month to month at the time. Number 12, issue number 12, gives us the beginning of a crossover with Luke Cage, Black Panther, Blade, and what's his name? I gotta find his name. Brother Voodoo. So we're very intentionally doing, hey, black superheroes teaming up. It's cool. And yeah, black superheroes teaming up. It's cool. I want to get back to the main story. I really do. I mean, there's undeniable coolness in this. Like, is that the only good panel we get of it? Yeah, there we go. Luke Cage in Wakandan robes is awesome. That is really, really neat. And like, just hearing him or seeing Luke Cage talk with T'Challa about the robes is really neat. The robes of Wakanda suit you well, my friend. Don't worry, I'll send them to the cleaners before I return them. And T'Challa just like, those are a gift. Please don't embarrass me by not accepting. Luke Cage is like, are you kidding me? Hell yeah, I'm accepting. Wait till the old heads, the Human bookstore uptown, check these out. That's really neat. So what sets up the story is T'Challa wants to go visit New Orleans, and this came out and is centered around the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. So that puts this, September? Yeah, September of 2005. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that. And this is just about like what was going on with not only people, without houses, unable to get to shelters and stuff like that, but it comic books it up, which of course comics are good at doing. And it has comic booky over the topness added in to kind of show the way the problem feels. Is I've been trying to come up with another way to express what comics are doing when they put just a huge exaggeration of a problem on the page that is going on in the real world. And the best example I've been able to think of, or the best way to put that I've been able to think of, is comics don't necessarily just show you what's happening. They are really good at showing you how it feels. And I think that is a very worthwhile endeavor. So T'Challa and Luke Cage go to New Orleans to help, the humanitarian effort, but also to help with a significant problem that's going on, which is the rise of vampires. Apparently, the hurricane flooded, and this is a real thing that happened in New Orleans since it's below sea level. It's really hard to keep coffins underground, and especially in storms and stuff. So the hurricane flooded cemeteries, and that brought one of an old vampire that was resting in his grave, that woke him up and brought him into the world again. And so his evil plan is to turn New Orleans into a city of vampires. And so T'Challa is there to help fight against that. We also get this amazing, amazing cover right here for the next part of the issue. That's cool as shit. That's just fucking awesome. T'Challa saving people from the wreckage of New Orleans. Red Leader makes a good point. If angels get a city, then so should vampires. That kind of works because Los Angeles, and then you got New Orleans, which is kind of a city of sin, so it would make sense for vampires to take root there. I hadn't thought of that. That's a nice little way to put it. Matthew Bennett says, "Goddamn swamp Draculas." Goddamn swamp Draculas. Gotta deal with this. Drain the swamp. Drain it. I think I could do like an okay Trump in like the short term, but trying to go as Trump is really hard. So yeah, they're just kind of, all working to take out vampires in this house together. Blade and Brother Voodoo show up and start working on it, and they're just a team dealing with shit. Oh, that wasn't even a cover. That was just a page. That's cool as shit. That's not even a cover. That's just a page. That is a great page. This foreign entity coming to America to help solve its problems. It's no mistake. Captain America shield's back there. That's really cool. But anyway, they're fighting vampires in this basement and dealing with stuff, and I mean, it's cool action. It's fun. It's neat. Brother Voodoo's a character I'd never heard of before, but he's pretty cool in this too. T'Challa gets in his plane, and this I want a fucking action figure of. T'Challa gets in his jet real quick to change clothes to something more appropriate to fighting vampires in. So he takes the sword that he got from the end of the last volume and dresses in fucking epic ass, like Dark Knight looking armor. That is badass. I want that action figure, man. That's so fucking cool. This armor has been consecrated in the name of the Panther god. This blade is a weapon of the Roman Catholic Church. In the name of all that is holy, prepare to die. As he starts fighting vampires. I will say the biggest problem is that page, that panel should be followed by at least a page of nothing but T'Challa fighting vampires, or like a really cool 2-page spread of him fighting the vampires and just like slaying the shit out of them. But it doesn't, and we just get continued dialogue exchange and stuff. So whatever. Anyway, so they come up with a plan of what they're gonna do. And again, just really fucking cool shit. It's cool. He's in knight armor on a fucking motorcycle, man. Oh. Anyway, they all go and they're fighting and killing vampires and dealing with the bad guy, and Blade kills the main vampire, and T'Challa convinces the, at the time, Captain Marvel to use sunlight powers to kill all the vampires, and yada yada yada. They find Brother Voodoo's Cadillac and drive off into the sunset together. It's just cool. I mean, it's fun. It's cool. I'm not like disappointed that I read this or anything. I had fun reading it. I laughed. I was like, oh, that's so awesome. Like there's some really neat stuff in this. Don't get me wrong. I just would like to see the story continue. It's so weird for me to be the guy that goes, oh, well, you shouldn't just only focus on gigantic arcs and stuff. If you're doing it in a monthly format, there should be breaks that just are, simple, easy stories. And I stand by that 100%. What I think would have worked better, and you could make the argument that Wild Kingdom is a big arc, but it doesn't really have a ton to do with T'Challa's advancement. It's just a crossover, right? What I feel that the perfect formula is pretty much established in Sandman, where we'd get an arc, and then we'd get a one-and-done story that thematically or just in some subtle plot way, but would set up future stories, but in such a way where it did not require you to read those stories to be impacted by that issue. That's the only that's the best way I've ever read comics was Sandman, as far as arc and singles and that kind of thing, as far as balance between those two. And so this, we got 2 back-to-back short story arcs, 2 issues. Right? I did that right. 10 to 13, 10, 11, 12, 13, yeah. 2 issues. And that's great. But it would have been better if this had directly followed Who is the Black Panther as opposed to Wild Kingdom. I'm being told to get Starman. Okay. I'll look into getting Starman. But otherwise, I really like this. It's still fun, even though like I have my complaints about it, about the way that it is characterizing the women, about the way that it is, not really adding too much to the run. It's still enjoyable though. And it's got like such a self-aware title, Bad Mother. Man, that Shaft is a bad mother. Shut your mouth. I'm just talking about the Shaft. Let's see here. Red Leader Antilles asks, so what is left in that run? Let's go ahead and check on that real quick. Can I get there without taking off my headphones? It's going to be close. Yay, ready. Okay, not counting Black Panther, Captain America, Flags of Our Fathers, we've got a number of volumes still left. So, time permitting, next week I'll be talking about Black Panther Volume 4, The Bride, as well as Black Panther's stuff in Civil War, Black Panther 4, The Hard Way, Black Panther Little Green Men, Black Panther Back to Africa, Black Panther Secret Invasion, Black Panther Deadliest of the Species, Black Panther Power, and Black Panther Captain America Flags Are Our Fathers. Yeah, it's a pretty substantial run. Yes, Red Leader, I bought all of these years ago, like a year or two ago, and I did not read them all at once. Yes. Did I get a raise or a bonus or something? No, I wanted to collect everything, and since it wasn't something that was like still in stores, I couldn't get it at my comic shop. So I was buying them piecemeal on eBay. So like by the time I got Who is the Black Panther, I had like this, and that was it. So I wanted to like have everything before I started reading them. By the time I got everything, it took like a month and a half to get everything here. I was out of a Black Panther mood. But now I'm back in a Black Panther mood, so I'm going through Black Panther. It's a very Black Panther time on Geeky Gentleman right now, or on Super 2's channel. Next week we're doing a Black Panther fan film and Black Panther character discussion. So look forward to that. Anyway, that'll do it for this week's episode of Comic Reviews. I hope you all enjoyed. Have a good time. Bye.